My fellow citizens of all nations. Right now I'm going to talk about My Secret Life by Anonymous. This book is about erotic experiences a man from an upper class had during his life, and he was obsessed with sex, and he really loved to have sex, and he was willing to spend a lot of money for whores and almost everything he had. He mentions once that he spent £4,000 that year for whores and for different women, and if you were to compare purchasing power of his time toward today's era, it would be like if somebody were to say that, oh, I spent more than £600,000 for horse and to just get away with people, and that would be like an enormous amount of money. And he had a lot of experiences. He has done a lot of questionable things. He was more than willing to use his authority, his power, and every trick in the book to get what he wanted. And he sort of has seen the other side of stuff and the way sort of human nature works. So especially toward the orgies, he experienced how, for example, the orgy, the first and most memorable orgy, I believe. He's like, after this orgy, we never talked about it or never mentioned about it, and it was sort of a crazy experience. And it's also human attitude of like secrecy and like which is social and acceptable just to hide it. And even this author itself, even though he mentions a couple things about his wife. Yes, he was married, but he had a really close amount of affairs. But the thing is that even he mentions very little about his wife. Almost doesn't talk about his wife and pleasure or etc. He just says that I didn't like to have any relationship with my wife. But he doesn't say much because he is bound by the culture most likely and doesn't want to involve his wife about this in this story. He was basically a bourgeoisie, and the way I see it right now, it is about the class. He was from upper class, and it is visible how like certain classes can get away with everything, and how he encounters expensive prostitutes that are also meeting other, even most likely, even privileged and even more richer people than he was, and how they become rich and they become arrogant, and how they serve different men, and all these stories. It's not like he's the only one. So this experience is he tries to sort of explain it, talk in his book, and sort of he really loves the life he had, and he's really proud of it, and he lived the fullest. And he's like, if I could repeat it all over again, I would do it. But he's like, duty doesn't allow it. At a certain point, the book becomes sort of boring because he's just so obsessed with pleasure, and the women are just means to an end. Like for his ultimate goal is truly a pleasure. And it also shows the class antagonism and how his attitude toward the poor, and how he had actual disdain toward the poor, but he was like, poor were much cheaper and easier. And class antagonism basically here is clearly visible. How different the life of the rich and the poor. And in a society where family relations are fundamentally money relations, then rich own everything. Like, rich owns your family. Like, whether you realize it or not, it absolutely doesn't matter. When family relations becomes fundamentally a money relation, a poor is a loser in every sense of a way. There's this movie about a couple that are very in love, and a rich person offers this woman that if she stays with him for one night, they're going to receive enormous money, and she agrees, and there's a whole movie about it basically, which is quite interesting. Hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already.